Aonikenk people of Argentina, also known as Twilushi, by Kevin Siegel. Aonikenk. The Aonikenk occupied the area around the Strait of Magellan to the Negro River in South America. The language was Aonikenk and now is extinct. Each Twilushi subgroup had its own dialect. Twilushi can be recorded as far back as 14,500 years. Twilushi first stage. The Twilushi had around 4,000 to 5,000 people. They had a nomadic group of 100 each. They would hunt and gather up and down the coast using bow and arrows and bolas. Twilushi second stage. The Twilushi people changed their way of life using horses. With the use of horses, Twilushi groups grew to 400 to 800 and were better hunters. Latter half of the first millennium, the Twilushi people arrived in Patagonia. The land far south was not a good place to settle. The Twilushi were never incorporated into the Spanish colony society. Patagonia sheep were brought to Patagonia in 1876. In 1878, the Argentine government began to grant concessions regularly to colonists. By 1884 and 1885, ranches were being established in the interior, in the southern part of Twilushi territory. As large tracts of lands were fenced off for sheep ranching, the natives began to lose their traditional access to natural resources. In 1876 and 1893, colonists had occupied some of the Twilushi land. This made the Twilushi break into smaller groups. The conquest of the desert in the 1870s was also devastating for indigenous populations. In the early 1890s, there were around 6 groups with 300 to 400 people. Around 1893, these groups combined into 3 larger communities. Early 1890s. 2 of the Twilushi groups had to quit their traditional nomadic life, for their main hunting source was reduced because of rising sheep ranching. Because of this, the Twilushi established a trade relation with colonists. Breeding and trading horses, raising cattle and sheep, even paid jobs at ranches. Many different researchers will disagree with the total population. Some say a couple hundred, some say a couple thousand. The one thing they agree on is the decrease is due to disease such as smallpox, lung disease, tuberculosis, and alcohol. The average winter temperature was 2 degrees Celsius, and summer highs could reach up to 40 degrees Celsius. It was a land of volcanoes with broad plains that were home to a rich variety of animal life. Their society was a family unit with bands and lived in villages. Each band had a chief called a Aonikenk or a Yank. Even though they were independent and lacking structure, the males held the power in the groups. Horses were social standing that was classify someone's place in a group. The horses actually revolutionized everything about the Twilushi. Twilushi performed rituals to celebrate birth, death, and marriage, and rites of passage for females were especially important. When Twilushi would die, they would kill all of the animals the person owned and burn their property. The Twilushi traveled around during different seasons. They would follow the same route season after season, and this turned them into roads. The Twilushi settled in one camp in the winter and moved around more in the other seasons. This was mainly for food and supply reasons. Hunting and gathering. Twilushi men would hunt guanacos, which resemble alpacas, and nanadas, which resemble ostriches, with bow and arrows and bolas. The women would gather firewood and water for cooking and raising the children. Men would also make the tools and weapons. They would use the skin from the guanaco as clothes for shelter. Guanaco and skunks were cooked with hot stones inside. They were seasoned with salts and cured blood and served in armadillo shells. The Twilushi did not have certain hours to eat and only ate when they were hungry.